Welcome to my channel where we cover the lore of Final Fantasy XIV. We cover the stories both big and small, the epic and the cute, the silly and the tragic. I hope you all enjoy the ride, and welcome to the Chronicler of Lore. After some events in Heavenswood that I'm not going to spoil here, a primal was summoned and sealed in a cocoon, much like Bahamut had meant, and it won't be long before it breaks free. The Garleans of course were interested in the thing, so they sent the ship to investigate, and it got blown out of the sky, so they decided not to approach like that again. That means dealing with it before it breaks free will be a real problem, and if a primal of that level escapes, it could lead to a calamity on the same scale as the one Bahamut had caused. At the moment, not even Cid has an idea on how to deal with the issue, but Nero, who's always willing to take any opportunity to one-up Cid, shows up, and he actually does have an idea. The primal inside of the cocoon is on the level of Bahamut, which means the best way to deal with that primal is to use the same machine that had trapped the dragon in the first place, Omega. The thing has been sleeping beneath the plains of Cartano since the time of the Allagans, and no one knows how to wake it up. No one except for Nero, that is. And he's willing to help. Since it's not like you have any better ideas or the time to figure one out, Cid can't really turn the man away, so Nero proves his usefulness by pointing out one simple thing. If the Allagans were able to turn Omega off, then it can be turned on again and controlled. Granted, if you can't control it, you'll have turned on something even more dangerous than the primal you're trying to fight. It's a valid concern, but an irrelevant one since you have no other options. And while Nero always has his own goals that may very well lead to your death, he did prove useful when you dealt with the Crystal Tower, so if you watch him, it should be okay. So the Alliance puts Cid and the Scions on the task of reviving Omega. Just in case Nero does anything shady, Alice gives Yugiri permission to kill him, and of course she's okay with that. So you all hop onto the Excelsior to head out to Cartano after a quick trip to the Rising Stones to get a little more information and to snatch up some allies because there's bound to be some fighting. Especially since the Garleans know about Omega and will probably be coming for it. Out in Cartano, Nero turns on the teleporter to Omega's control room, but of course a group of Garleans show up, just like you expected. They attack you because that's what they do, and Nero leaves you to it while he goes in the control room. Since Cid won't let the man press buttons without somebody there to watch him, he follows him inside while the rest of you deal with the Garleans. Nero doesn't just leave you all out to dry, he sends his own personal Magitech suit to help you blow things up. That gives you the edge you need to force a retreat, and then you can head inside too. Between Nero and Cid, the two of them manage to wake up Omega. As soon as it turns on, it detects the trapped primal, but there's also no controls. Apparently the thing was made to run on its own, which means controlling it is out of the question. So once it beats the primal, it'll need to be put back to sleep. Now let's be honest, how many of you actually think that'll work? But there's still no other option, so the button is pressed and Omega powers up and flies off to deal with the dragon primal Shinryu right as it breaks out of its cocoon. The amount of power released by the primal and Omega far exceeds anything you've seen before, but after the two of them get into an anime style beam struggle, the explosion sends them both flying off somewhere. All signals from the weapon stop going to the terminal where you are, which could mean that Omega was destroyed, but you won't know until you all check with someone who was outside and able to see the fighting. Apparently Emmerich saw both the Primal and Omega fall out of the sky somewhere over Alamigo, and they both looked pretty dead. But you won't know for sure until you get closer. Cid did press the shutdown buttons for Omega, so if it ends up in the Garleans' hands, it shouldn't do them any good. That doesn't mean that Cid and the Ironworks, Nero included, won't search for the thing. They still want to find it first. The Ironworks sets up shop in Rhalgr's Reach while they hunt for Omega, and during their search they find out that Shinryu was taken by the Garleans. The thing was already tied up when they found it, which means Omega had restrained it. That also means it hadn't powered down when Cid had told it to, so there's no telling what the thing is doing. They've pretty much found out where it's located, but before they can head to the site, they have to deal with a little problem called Nero. Apparently Jesse hired him on as a consultant for the Ironworks on the Omega hunt, even though Cid was hoping to be rid of him after they lost the thing. He doesn't trust him, but firing him wouldn't be the smartest thing to do since Jesse already paid him in full, and his salary was about as high as Cid's. Plus, whether they like each other or not, you can't deny the fact that Nero is good at what he does. That doesn't mean Cid's gonna let him roam around unsupervised, and guess who gets put on chaperone duty? Truthfully, Sid's glad you're there because they still don't know how powerful Omega is. Even if Shinryu damaged it, they don't think they'll be able to shut it down without some added muscle, meaning you. Sid's found the place where the weapon probably crashed, and having you check the site with him will leave him a little less unsettled. I don't remember the Warrior of Light ever saying no to anything, which is convenient because the ether readings at the yawn where Omega crashed have started to go crazy, meaning it's probably waking up. Without wasting any more time arguing, you all race off to the yawn. Something strange is going on at that giant hole. For starters, it's full of ether so thick that you can see it. It's so unusual that it causes Midgard-Somr to appear. The Elder Dragon hadn't talked to you since the Dragon Song War ended, but when he smelt Omega, he had to come out. He's known the weapon for multiple lifetimes, and they are not friends. Before the dragon could tell you any more, you're all interrupted because a chocobo that looks like a children's toy comes flying out of the ether swimming pool with a very big winged snake trying really hard to eat it. The chocobo leads the thing right towards you all, but instead of eating Sid, it passes right through him. The thing is one of Omega's creations. Midgard-Somr tells you that Omega was made somewhere far away, and it has the ability to create life with ether. The snake isn't finished, which is why it passed through Sid's body, but the dragon is positive that Omega will finish it soon, then he'll have it try to eat you again. The snake flies back into the pool of ether, but the weird chocobo stays behind. The thing looks like a toy, but it is about the size of the chocobo that the Lalafell ride, so everyone just takes Wedge's word for the thing being real. Since it came from Omega, Midgard-Somr talks to it for you because apparently he can speak stuffed animal. The fact that the tiny dragon is the same Midgard-Somr who supposedly died at the Battle of Silvertear Skies is not something any of the others expected, but Nero is more than willing to use the dragon's ancient knowledge since there's not all that much known about Omega. The first time it appeared in any records was way back in the Third Astral Era, before the Allegan Empire became the Nation of Legend, and the only thing the record said is that Omega was successfully activated. After that, Allegan technology jumped ahead in leaps and bounds, but Omega was never mentioned again until the capture of Bahamut. Some people, Nero included, had assumed the Allegans had built Omega, but apparently it came from another planet. And because Midgard-Somr likes to study from the school of keeping people in suspense, he won't say any more about where Omega came from. He did talk to the Chocobo and it told him about a weird place that it had lived in since it was made. It was created to fight by Omega so it could test the power of its creations, but it wasn't that strong so it ran, and somehow ended up in your world. That's all it knew. If you want to know more, you'll have to jump into Omega's ether. The ether has made the hole a portal into Omega's domain, so the fall won't kill you. If you decide to go, the little Chocobo agrees to guide you. And since Midgard-Somr and Omega have a history, the dragon offers to help you too. So, because you're all geniuses, you jump feet first into the gooey purple ether and end up in the white room from the Matrix with your bodies as transparent as the flying snakes had been. Omega appears as a giant old school box TV, claiming that he's been waiting for you. You are in a rift between dimensions where he is in the middle of running an important experiment, and if you refuse to participate, he'll erase you from existence. Probably should have read the terms of service before you logged into his world, because you signed your life away on the dotted line and now there's nothing you can do about it. After you decide not to die, Omega assigns you to what he calls the Alpha Group and brings you into the heart of his dimension. The purpose of his experiment is to determine who is the strongest being in creation. He has chosen 89 different participants and grouped them by dimension, then put them against each other. Like the Final Fantasy version of the Mortal Kombat tournament. I would have said it was like Super Smash Bros., but these are death battles, so I think Mortal Kombat is more accurate. The Chocobo, who Omega calls Alpha, is the leader of your group, but your position might change after Omega puts you through a strength test. He needs to know how well you can fight before he can determine your value. He'll create an obstacle course for you, and if you can make it through and reach the Deltascape testing world, then you'll be labeled as worthy subjects. Before you can even interact with things, you have to be authorized by Alpha, which basically means you'll no longer be transparent. Once that's done, you all get to fight your way down Omega's testing road, which takes a little bit of something from all of you. Wedge does a little work disabling some barriers, while the rest of you get to break some things. The preliminary tests aren't all that difficult, until Omega creates a behemoth to put you down. But you all deal with it and reach the Deltascape, where Omega has creatures from other dimensions ready to fight you. Since you made it through the test, Omega got the chance to gauge your strength. By his calculations, your group is the weakest, most pathetic group among all the other creatures he's chosen. Unlike his other combatants who he's recreating based off of beings from other worlds, you are actually physically there, so you can use this part of the rift to enter the Deltascape and defeat your opponents. You can bring a few allies, but Omega has set a limit, so you can't bring a whole army and just overwhelm his creations. So in typical Sid fashion, he sets up a small command center in the area where they can gather all the information they can on your opponents. And your first opponent is that same snake that you saw chasing Alpha, only this time it's finished, so its teeth won't be passing harmlessly through you. And that's where we're going to stop for today. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and ding that notification bell. And if you want to buy me a coffee for my work, sign up to become a member of the channel. Until next time, guys. Later.